Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Cheche, live on Citizen TV. Our guest this morning is Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, Dr. Willy Mutunga. Now, there are several questions about the reforms you've been carrying out within the judiciary, because of course we see public events. You had the judicial marches, I believe, in August or September. There was the poll that said that more than 70% of Kenyans know about the reforms and are happy with them. But you still have pockets, such as Garissa, where people don't know what's going on and who have no access to justice. What are you doing about that?
This week we are going to launch mobile courts. There are places in this country that don't need buildings. You need judges and magistrates to go to those places and take justice to them. Garissa, as you know now, as a judge, the first judge in NFD. Okay.
In the northeastern, the first
northeastern province.
I always call it NFD to
Northern
be
Frontier
realistic.
District. Why
Yes,
is that?
because that is the entire marginalized corridor from Turkana to Garissa, to Tana River. So we have that, and they had judicial matches as well. But we are going to also set up a high court registry in Isiolo, in Lodwar, and Kapenguria, so that you have judges who can go to those particular places because of the distances. We also, at the Lake Victoria, we also buying a boat so that the magistrates can actually go to those islands, so that we don't have the kind of near disaster we had the other day when the police were bringing a live cow on a boat and it almost capsized because it was an exhibit in a criminal case. And we're also going to have judges in Kisii who work in Migori. We're going to have a judge in Homa Bay. So we're giving Land Rovers to various magistrates and stations so that judges start moving, to people.
Let me ask you two questions in one. One is about magistrates.
Yeah.
There is a lot of concentration on reforms of judges. But magistrates, they sit and hear things when they want and adjourn when they want. I don't know who the answerable to. That's one. Two, the other one is about the ICT and the High Court. When are you going to be fully compliant so that you become like any international High Court?
Yeah, that's ICT, I would say, in 2 years' time. Will be paperless and modern and efficient. In fact, by January, we'll have that in 22 courts. So the infrastructure has been thought through, and it's not just a question of buying computers. You need, the infrastructure. So that's going to happen. The magistrates are supervised by chief magistrates, but these days they are supervised by the people. I get a lot of SMSs. We have 3834, where people SMS us and say, I'm in Kibera, is 1 p.m. The magistrate hasn't shown up. And we follow up.
I'll give you an example of those SMSs, and they all have to do with delays. Can you give any genuine reason as to why the Nairobi High Court is not delivering even when your presence is felt there every day? Imagine appeals as far as 2007 to date are still there without having known the fate of their files. Look at the Machakos Court, which is handling cases of 2012. And there's someone who says he's had a traffic case since 2009, which has been mentioned 6 times. Nothing has happened. Delays everywhere.
There are delays. We've opened the office of judicial ops person, and the people are complaining about these delays, and we're doing a lot about those delays. It's when it comes to to appeals, as I said, there was this issue of proceedings that is being taken care of, and those matters are now being fixed for hearing. But the Kenyans are doing a great job on these issues because they report these things on Twitter, the SMS, they write to the judicial ombudsperson. And things get down.
Those are people in urban areas. Imagine a magistrate in some remote village.
Chuka.
Who whatever.
There is a cell phone in every home these days. Somebody is going to SMS that, I can assure.
They don't have the credit.
My experience
Yes,
is that this is a collective thing.
Yeah.
That within that court, if the guy is not there or the woman is not there, somebody there has the credit to just SMS and say this is happening.
But there are too many cases of delays.
Yeah, we addressing the whole issue of performance as well in the judiciary. We want to know how many cases are heard by people. I know there are people who just go and adjourn cases and they don't do them, and
isn't it possible?
And they don't have a backlog.
Well,
so,
I mean, just in terms of achieving that efficiency we are talking about, isn't it possible to say that no case file shall take more than 2 years to be concluded, and so that you force the placement on hearing dates and mentions within that time, and they're concluded?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's where we are headed. It's not going to happen yesterday. In my opinion, the judiciary is going to be what Kenyans want it to be after 10 years.
What about corruption?
After 10 years, because
let's focus.
Because
on
I mean, if you look at, somebody, for example, filed a matter in 2010.
Yeah.
Up to now, not a single hearing of that matter. And then we see in some cases came up last year or this year, they've been heard and concluded. Maybe some are criminal, others are civil. But is in there a way in which these things can be harmonized so that there is equal dispensation of justice across board?
No, it's a great point that we are working on a system where people don't jump the queue, because that was part of the corruption in the judiciary. You file a case today, you know how to get it heard very, very, very quickly. But of course, there are other cases that come under certificate of urgency, and they have to be heard, immediately. But we are having a system where nobody jumps the queue, and that is being put in place. And I think it's as you say, is only just and fair that justice is for all, and the judiciary doesn't become the judiciary for those who have deep pockets.
Okay, what are you doing about corruption within the magistracy?
There have been issues of corruption, right? We don't have an investigative wing as such, although the Judicial Service Commission is working on that, so that these issues can be investigated. But the impression I get is that magistrates and everybody in the judiciary knows that they are being watched, not by me, by the public, and
the public is the one paying bribes. The same public watching, the same one giving the bribes.
Yes, but we are telling them every day, continuously,
for
consistently, that justice is not for sale. It's a message that will take time, and that's why ICT is so important, because you can deal with some of the obvious areas of corruption, files disappearing, the banks collecting money other than our clerks, all right, performance, contracting and so forth.
CJ, one of the most interesting cases that came before court, which tested the impartiality of the judiciary, is the case of the Minister Ali Makwere, hate speech. In the public's eye, this was another case on a continuation of the powerful getting away where the poor wouldn't. The minister was summoned to court. Corners in a hospital. The next day, he didn't appear. And what we hear at the end of it is a compromise of an apology, which Kenyans are not used to. That somebody is charged with an offense and then an apology is struck with the complainant and they come and register consent. What would you say about that for the record of the independence of the judiciary under your tenure?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. The case has been decided, so we can discuss it. It's not pending. The complainant, as I understand, was NIC and some
Muhuri.
and the Muhuri.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, there was a discussion about withdrawing that case. Although I understand now Muhuri says that they were not part of it and they are saying that the case should be reheard. But the law is this. The law is this, and it's very, very, very clear. It's the court that decides, you know, whether the matter will be withdrawn. In this particular case, the DPP wanted it withdrawn, the complainants wanted it withdrawn. It's a law that if it's a felony, the presiding magistrate can actually say, no, it's going to go on. And as I've said before, the magistrate didn't do it. There's two, the case is still a live issue as far as I'm concerned. They can have it revised if they want to do that. There's two avenues, and I think those are the avenues I keep on saying. If people are aggrieved, you know, about a decision, then take it to the next, you know, to the next level, and it's the decisions of the courts are also messages about the judiciary. So you are right if the messages that are going out there are showing we have no independence and so forth. It's an issue, and that's the issue. Is an issue of transition that we have to deal with.
Really, continuing, and since you came into office, the strikes across the country by lawyers. In Kisii, you just talked about that. Lawyers there have been protesting. They want certain judges out of there. In Bungoma, there have been cases of, you know, they say post more judges. You keep saying you'll post. Why are these issues being, why are they persisting?
Well,
what is the problem with is it with the lawyers? Because some of them are saying cases have been pending there for 10 years and so forth, and they need them adjudicated. In others, they are saying, no, take out these judges, they're not handling our matters properly. What is going on?
What is going on is that if you take, for example, Bungoma, where your brother is the leader of the Bar Association, he basically said, we need another judge. And I said, we don't have another judge. You have to wait until you recruit. We recruited. I gave them an extra judge, and they're happy. Kisii, they basically say, we want these two women out of the place. I say, you don't make those kinds of decisions. If you think there is an issue, you know, let the Judicial Service Commission know. And we have, you know, good relations with LSK. You know, we meet fairly often. But I think the center has lost the branches. So you talk to the center, but there are all these, you know, small branches all over the place. The Kisii chapter, the Kitui chapter, the Embu chapter, and you know, they have their own, you know, their own issues. And we are trying to, you know, to sort out that. But we can't post judges all over the place. We need to look at the statistics, and we have hired more judges. And in the case of Kisii, where there are a lot of land cases, we have sent even more than they wanted.
What do you do about the reforming of lawyers? I mean, you don't reform judges and make them good when the lawyers themselves are crap.
That's one of the issues why I think lawyers are agitating against me, because I think I said they ought to be vetted.
Yeah.
And Githu Muigai is coming with a legislation about that. I also told them that I won't increase their fees until there is public participation. And I also told them they need to know that the public wants their clients' accounts open. Okay? Because advocate-client confidentiality is not about criminality. So there are these issues that you know, are being discussed. You have seen a lot of write-up, you know, about these issues by Ahmed Nasir, by Emeka. Is it called Emeka?
Yes.
So you know, the issues there, but my view is that the judicial reforms have started to bite as you disband cartels that have existed, that have been the basis of corruption. Some lawyers are going to be.
I mean, what is, you
unhappy.
just mentioned something about client advocate confidentiality. That has been one of the biggest problems with regard to the criminality and corruption in this country. I mean, we look at the Anglo-listing and the position that the defense lawyers took, saying, you know, we cannot disclose the identities, the addresses of people who are alleged to have committed crimes.
And they're representing them.
What is your philosophical position, or the philosophical position of the Mutunga judiciary, if I may call it so?
Well, the point I've been raising with the Law Society is simple. That is a value that has been established over a long period of time, that there's a confidentiality between the client and the advocate, right? But after 2010, we have a constitution that has specific values. If you look at Article 10, transparency, accountability, integrity. So, in my view, they need to see whether that particular value that is born out of some British system over a period of time is not subverting the values of the Constitution. Okay? Because KRA might want to know, the anti-corruption, everybody else might want to know, is this Mutegi's money, this 1 billion you have, I say it's Mutegi's, come after you, and you have to explain whether you bought, you've paid taxes and so forth. It's an issue that I was telling them that it's being raised by members of the public through the judiciary person, and maybe they have taken it as my own recommendation, but it's going to happen.
CJ, the Supreme Court, where, you know, everybody vested a lot of hope in the Supreme Court, like it's going to be the new, you know, place to go for justice. You created so many rules that, of course, accessing that Supreme Court is definitely going to be a problem, but also I think it's healthy. However, we have not yet felt the Supreme Court. In fact, in my view, it's very idle. You guys are not working. We don't hear or feel you in the country. You're supposed to spearhead the new judicial affairs. Where are you, and what is going on in the Supreme Court, and when will people begin to feel you?
So we have a few cases. It's true we are not busy, but we are not going to run around the country and say we are not busy bringing cases. so we just have to wait. We are in an appellate court, and there are issues about advisory opinion that are coming, and those ones that have come, we have heard them. But you're quite right. In terms of jurisprudence and pronouncements, those are in the future as matters come up. And they might not come because some matters might just be adjudicated at other levels, like the issue of the date of the next election ended at Court of Appeal. It didn't come to us. So we, at the moment, all we are doing is thinking and philosophizing and writing articles and and being proactive.
Have you understand about the uniforms that the judiciary should wear?
The uniform?
The gown.
The gown.
Oh,
the
robes. Yeah,
yes.
we agreed that we discard wigs, and that each court decides what robes to wear. In the Supreme Court, we haven't finalized, because you remember when we came out in green, we were laughed at.
Yes.
You know, people
Okay,
said,
Okay,
so
we are running out of time. They're about to ask me to wind up, and I want to give you the opportunity to address some issues, some personal issues, I think. There was a newspaper report about your residence, and there's a question here. Somebody claiming that your issues with the Law Society of Kenya in support of, the alleged support you're giving to some of the justices is also reflected in the handling of your divorce. What's your response to that?
I don't know what the handling of the divorce.
I suppose the issue is that there's a feeling that you were favored in the divorce ruling, and that that is the same sort of principle that's being applied. When you write letters allegedly in support of certain judges.
I think that's gross. It's totally unfair. And that's all I can say, and I respect that person's opinion. They are entitled to it, but that's true. I'm not being favored, and I'm not pressurizing anybody. I've already answered that question. The issue of the mansion that people are talking about, people don't know that there is no official residence for the CJ, and I was asked to rent a mansion and the government will pay. I refused. I said there must be an official residence for the Chief Justice, and they said we'll build it. I said no, you can't build it, because there's there are too many issues about building of mansions. And so they said buy, and we did a memo to the cabinet. The cabinet approved, Parliament has approved, and now it's the tendering. And we're tendering, and we look at places. I think the judiciary, the money that has been given will not locate that mansion in Muthaiga or Karen or Lavington. It will have to be in a middle class place. But the idea for me is that it's a place where you can entertain. It's a place where you can have meetings with judges and so forth. It's just like the one they had before. But I don't know what happened to the official residence. I've been staying in rented apartment. I stayed there before I was appointed. It's very comfortable. I don't care about a mansion. After I retire, I won't have a mansion. I'll be doing. So I'm talking about the office, of the Chief Justice. It's not about me. I have under 4 years, to retire. So the next person should have official residence. The president has, and the speaker has.
Even the
vice president.
Yeah, so it's the judiciary, the shortest arm, or what? All the arms are equal. So they should be. And this is for Kenyans. It's not like it's something I have a keen interest in. Like everybody else. I have no issues with capitalist goods. I always concerned about the distribution. Okay.
You've changed from your earlier days as a Marxist.
What? I haven't changed.
Oh.
Yeah, I haven't changed. Well,
okay. There's a question here. We have 6 minutes to go. So let's try and get through viewers' questions. Why is it that junior staff in the judiciary continue to be sidelined in terms of better pay 6 months after you promised them? All we keep hearing is dates with the SRC that do not come to be because you keep postponing them. Is it that they're not important or a priority while they are the majority in the judiciary? Do you think any meaningful reforms in a lot of areas can be realized without them? They are your face on the ground at the point of service.
I agree totally.
Okay.
The magistrates and these people are the...
So when will they get better salaries?
Well, the Judicial Service Commission has dealt with this issue, right? And it has to go to the salaries and that particular commission for discussion. But there are certain increments that have been given, and certain promotions. I agree with them. The disparities in the judiciary in terms of salaries are unacceptable, because what the disparities are is 1 to 80. I earn 800,000 shillings. The lowest in the judiciary, I understand the person who earns lowest is 10. And this is something that Kenyans have to deal with. It's not the increments, it's the disparities across the board. And we are addressing that. It will take time. It's not that we are not prioritizing it. It's something that is close to my heart.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a question about recruitment. There was a recent drive to recruit magistrates. One of the requirements was 3 years experience, but to my surprise, some people who were taken had not even practiced. I know of qualified people who were left behind. Is this part of your reforms?
If there is not, if that person is saying somebody hadn't qualified, they are probably saying that people had fake documents. They should let me know who these people are.
Remind us about the SMS number, because there is
5834.
5834
Yeah.
is the SMS for the judiciary.
Yeah, and there might be some people we hired on the basis of fake documents. But as far as I know, the shortlisting was open and thorough, and the interviews were thorough, and we picked, very good magistrates. But he might have, or she might have, information that we might need.
Are you happy with the running of the school of law, the way they do postgraduate? They just under too many students, and the goings on there are not proper.
I've basically heard about the complaints, but I haven't really investigated.
But is that under your jurisdiction?
No. It's under the AG's office.
But generally, with the legal training in the country and the new challenges coming up, what is the felt need of the judiciary in terms of where judicial knowledge or training of lawyers ought to go? Are there areas that are emerging that you think are not being tackled by the school of universities, law schools?
My personal view is that a law degree now should be a second degree. Lawyers need to do politics, economics, you name it.
Like it is happening in America.
America and other places. This notion that is a learned profession is another myth. You need to get to understand these other disciplines if you're going to be a rounded lawyer.
Okay.
Last question, David.
Well, you say that you as Chief Justice obviously does not issue instructions to judges and so forth in their work. But how do you respond to when there are complaints in government or public? For example, in the case of the MRC, the court issued, sort of, didn't legitimize, but it allowed the MRC to continue another form, say former party and so forth. And the police are saying the MRC, the police are saying the judiciary is the one that is causing problems by legitimizing, legalizing groups which are giving us problems. You as Chief Justice, as the head of that institution being accused, of course a judge made that ruling. Do you sit with judges and say, look, we're under pressure, we have to do things in this style, or how do you handle that? How does it percolate down to the judiciary?
I think that's a great question. The judiciary didn't have a culture of conferencing, sitting down and discussing issues. We are trying to say this is important. The judiciary didn't have a culture of training. Now there's a judicial training institute where people can actually go and talk about these issues, like when it's the issues of sentencing policy, bail, you need to harmonize. But we've got to talk to each other about these issues, not necessarily influencing what you decide, but in terms of law, the interpretation of law and the consequences of it is something that judges must do, because we are not in a convent. We don't decide cases in a vacuum. So the Constitution has taught us that, and that's what we have to do with their training.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's the final word. Our thanks to the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, Dr. Willy Mutunga, for your time as our guest on Cheche this morning. Our thanks also to panelists Mutegi Njau and David Makali, and to those of you who watched and sent in your questions and opinions. I'm Udwa Kamimo. That's Cheche for this week. Have a blessed week.